What editing does, it allows you to tell a story in the manner that you want to tell. When you see films and a lot of editors are very upset about the fact when the films don't work, it's bad editing. When they work, it's great direction.
So, when we talk about principles of editing, we all know that editing is about selecting the right images, putting them in order and with a certain length, and thereby create an impact. Uh, let's begin with the principles of editing. Where what are the various principles? What does editing aim at? What's the job?
So, so I think in a very let's first get rid of a myth around editing.
Mhm.
Editing normally is understood by people of material being shortened. That you have some large chunk of material and then you kind of reduce it to a certain length. This is a layman's, common man's understanding of editing. I mean, when I got married, my father-in-law thought that editing could only be done to a press clipping. So an editor is only belongs to a press. Film editing, matlab, nobody knew at that time. However, editing is not about reducing or increasing. It's about manipulating the rush, or what we call the material that you get from the shoot. Manipulate that material in a manner that it engages the audience. Now, it as a skill set, as a craft, editing has that power, it has that ability to actually tell the story the way you want it. So, in a one line, if I have to describe the role of editing and if I have to tell you what editing does to film storytelling, it is like giving breath to a skeleton. What you shoot is your skeleton. You have muscles, you have everything, you have the works, but it's still not alive. It's not still doing what a human being needs to do. What editing does, it allows you to tell a story in the manner that you want to tell. When you see films and a lot of editors are very upset about the fact when the films don't work, it's bad editing. When they work, it's great direction, right? The fact is that if editing is seen and felt in a film, then it's a bad edit. It has to be seamless because the idea is now, even when Lumiere brothers made their first film, the train arriving,
Arrival of the train.
it was a film. Nobody can deny it wasn't. They were trying to tell stories with the limited resources that they had. But what was missing in it? They could, because it was a single shot
Single shot.
experience, you could not manipulate the way an audience would watch it. So as with Porter and the others, when they started taking more and more shots, so the idea of coverage kind of enhanced. And today the coverage is to the extent that the three camera setups in fiction or two camera setup in the fiction continuously rolling and covering every action possible from every possible angle. So one has kind of come from that to this. The fact of the matter is that if you have the coverage, you would like to use it in a manner that it engages the audience for the best emotional experience. Because if the story does not have an emotional experience, it's a failure. Even today, when you give news, even when you give a news, it needs to have an correct emotional value. Otherwise, switch off the television and say, "अरे bore कर रहा है यार, हटो, चलो आगे बढ़ो." Right? Now, why would that bore happen? Why would that? Let's kind of think of it as that explains the principles of the application of editing to storytelling. When you start saying the same thing again and again and again, if in my own explanation I say one thing 20 times, after 2 or 3 times you will say, "Please ask him to shut up. I don't want to hear it again. I've heard it, man. I understood now. Can you please move on?" Right? So, what is it doing? So, when you said that what do I need to select is important. So, what am I going to say? Am I going to start talking to you from the point that I brushed my teeth today? Not relevant. So, what's not relevant I will take it out. But I did talk about my background a bit. You introduced me. And then we went on to just to give a credibility to the person who's speaking. And then the person actually speaks. The audience said, oh, let's listen to the guy who's 31 years into the business. Right? So that information became important for us to connect. So selection. What do I select? What do I have to say? What I don't have to say has to be selected. The second thing that happens is that what do I say when? Right? That is order. I'll come back to that in a moment. But what is even more important, if I keep repeating the same thing and again, I'm spending more time on saying something that really doesn't require that kind of a time to space. The overemphasis or an underemphasis is the worst enemy of storytelling. You have to be precisely emphasized on a point and move on. Every shot, when you juxtapose one to the next, what are you doing? You are changing the experience of your audience from point A to point B. So when you're doing that in that engagement, you cannot afford to keep saying the same thing unless and it is required, but then say it to the extent that it has to be said. So what to tell, how much to tell, very critical. But when to tell is also very important. Thus, order comes into play. Should I start by saying that, okay, I'm doing this, currently I'm doing this film, that's how I started. It suddenly told you that, okay, I'm active. I'm not somebody who's retired. Okay, so you have given me a point of engagement. Right? And then I went back to saying, oh, listen, you know what, 30 years ago, 27, 28 years ago, I did one of the best television shows of the country called Dekh by Dekh. Then I come back to saying that today the web shows is what is exciting me. Now, by saying this, I've jumped into time. In my own life, while telling you this. Now, this made it probably, I'm not saying that it is, it definitely has for everyone, but my feeling and my belief is that it makes my communication more interesting. And engage instead of kind of going into, but if I could have also gone in a chronology and given you what happened in 1990 to 91 to 92, maybe that's exciting and that could also work. I'm not saying that that would not work and this works. I'm just saying you have the choice to say it the way you want to say it. So that's what manipulation is all about. Because editing is giving me the choice to tell you the story the way I want to tell you. And every different way, every different route that I will take to tell you the story will have a different emotional impact. So what is the baseline? The baseline is what emotional impact do I want from my audience? If I am clear about it and I'm sure about it, I'll be able to do justice to my story. And no one else, no other department of filmmaking has really the what should I say, the power, ability to do what editing can do. Cameraman once recorded beautiful images, beautiful everything, but that's what it is.